Benue State People's Democratic Party has officially nominated former Governor Samuel Ortom as a member of the Board of Trustees of the party from the state. His nomination comes in the wake of the expiration of the tenure of the previous members, marking a significant leadership shift within the party of the state. This was contained in a statement on Tuesday by the Publicity Secretary of the party, Tim Nyo. Nyo said, in compliance with Sections 32 subsection 1G and Section 32 subsection 4 of the PDP Constitution, the nomination was announced via correspondence from the party secretariat to Chief Ortom and signed by the party secretary, Comrade Dan Nyewaka. He added that the state's working committee underscored that Chief Ortom's extensive experience and dedication to the party made him the ideal candidate for the position. He said, after careful deliberation, the state working committee under the chairmanship of Right Honorable Ezekiel Adaji unanimously endorsed you for the position, recognizing your invaluable contributions to the party, your exemplary leadership, and your commitment to the ideals and progress of the PDP. Nyo said the State Working Committee of the PDP expressed optimism that Chief Ortom's contribution as a member of the Board of Trustees will strengthen the party's cohesion in Benue and ensure that the interest of the state resonates within the national party framework. Okay, Chukwu, what do you make of this nomination?
Well, it shows that Ortom is on ground. It shows that Ortom is firmly in control of the structure of the party in the state. Then also, being a two-time governor who has worked very well for the party, I think it's just a reward for hard work, that when people work very hard, they get rewarded. So Ortom being nominated as a member of the Board of Trustees that's from Benue State. Yes. It shows that he has done very well for himself and for the party. And it will bring some form of stability within the Board of Trustees. Yeah, of course.
Within Benue State. Because Benue State, they were talking about the nomination of Ortom, that he was going to, further form a form of cohesion in Benue State. But you cannot take away the crisis between Ortom and the governor, Hyacinth Alia.
Hyacinth Alia is of the APC.
Yes. Hyacinth Alia is of the APC, with the SGF. Now, to a large extent, apologies for that, to a large extent, Ortom being, given this level of elevation, how do you see it playing out in the coming elections? Do you see PDP taking over power in Benue State, considering what happened in the first instance that even gave leeway for APC to overtake PDP?
I think what they should do at this point now is to see how they can build internal democracy in the party, bring about cohesion. Like I said, the beauty of political party is the number. Where you bring everybody on board. Political party is not a professional body, it's not a trade union where it must be for members or people of the same profession or trade. Political party is all encompassing, where even the motopark person, his interest should be protected, the academia, his interest should be protected, the industrialists and the bourgeois. That's the beauty of political party. So what they should do at this point is to see how to bring back everybody under that umbrella of PDP. Bring everybody under one fold. That way they can give the APC.
You're talking about conflict resolution.
Yes.
Within the PDP.
Within the PDP. That's why I say you need to bring everybody back on board.
The level of balkanization in PDP. Let's look at the PDP national. The level of balkanization of that party. Do you see PDP being able to mend fences? Considering what in the first instance, caused issues in 2023, and also considering the fact that, it appears that that mistake is about to repeat itself in 2027.
In life, like I tell people, the most dangerous threat to every human relationship is this three-letter word called ego. So if everybody if they must move forward, then egos has to be dropped, and the interest of the party has to come first and no longer ego. Once that is done, there's no problem that cannot be handled. There's no challenges that cannot be surmounted. So once everybody comes out from their high horses,
PDP. Now, you recall what caused crisis in 2023? The emergence of Atiku Abubakar as a presidential candidate and the consequent reactions now. And now, building up to 2027, there are indications that Atiku Abubakar may still have interest in running again.
I think if he does...
On the platform of PDP again.
If he does that, I think it's a very dangerous sign and signal for the PDP. If he is allowed to do that, it will not just turn the umbrella aside, it will destroy the umbrella into pieces.
It will shred the PDP umbrella
into different families. And once an umbrella is torn, it's of no use.
Now, could that be why, to a large extent, it appears that it's a bit tricky and difficult for issues, for fences to be mended in PDP? Because consider again that, there is this talk of rotational presidency, a gentleman's agreement, and then they are saying it's the time of the South. And I think that, to a large extent, was what even made the emergence of Atiku even much more controversial in the party, because it was supposed to be the turn of the South. And still, in this 2027 election, it's still, according to what they are saying, it's still the turn of the South. And Atiku is still, and that's why people are calling, some persons are saying, Atiku, do not bother, trying to run again in 2027. But to all intents and purposes, from the body language of, different persons, it appears that that might happen again.
At this point, I think I will call up all men of goodwill, everybody who has the interest of the party at heart, they should drop the idea of Atiku running for presidency in 2027.
But don't you think there might be a merger, that can turn things around?
Well, horse trading is the beauty of politics. It's the beauty of election at the dying minute. So if they have a merger, so be it. Let's see how it goes, how far it can push the interests of the parties.
The PDP.
Yes, coming to form the alliance. So whatever it is.
And there are talks of merger for a new political party. Probably the same thing that played out that led to the formation of APC. When you look at the likes of Kwankwaso now that has been expelled from the NNPP, together with the Kwankwasia movement, right? One would say for now, Kwankwaso cannot pitch his tent with the NNPP, unless probably Supreme Court gives a totally different judgment. But now it is what it is, and he has been expelled. And you could see Kwankwaso, having meetings with different persons. You can also see Nasser El-Rufai, having meetings. And I mean, what do you see coming ahead?
First, I think what happened to Kwankwaso in the NNPP could be likened to the hand of Jacob and voice of Esau. Why I said so is that one, what happened? There are some external influences that...
Why is everybody pointing fingers at external influences for this issue?
Of course, there are external influences.
All right.
So you don't rule it out. There are external influences that made or what made what happened to Kwankwaso happen. They want to destabilize him.
Okay.
And that's fine and square for them. Then the next question, if they are forming any major or mega political party now, I think it's going to be a marriage of strange bedfellows. Why I say so is that Nigerian political parties are not founded on ideology. It's founded based on interest. You see merger. We don't go into merger based on ideology. Otherwise, you won't see people from party A, B, C who have different political ideology coming together. All they just want to do is to capture power. And after they capture power, they don't have programs.
It still falls back to the same person. Is it because it's still the same persons recycling themselves in different political
parties? It's a marriage of strange bedfellow. And once you have this marriage of strange bedfellow, they are bound to be bickerings.
All right. Very well. Then moving on to the 2025 budget, Coalition of United Political Parties has enjoined the President Bola Tinubu-led administration to ensure that the 2025 budget is aligned with the country's development goals. CUPP, in a statement by its secretary, Peter Ame, urged the government to ensure that resources are allocated in a way that maximizes impact. He said, when all is said and done, the success of the 2025 budget will depend on the government's ability to implement its priorities effectively and efficiently. The 2025 Nigerian budget, totaling 49 trillion naira, has raised concerns about the country's ability to achieve meaningful development. A staggering 16 trillion naira, roughly 32% of the total budget, is allocated towards debt servicing. This leaves 33 trillion naira for other expenditures, with 14.2 trillion naira dedicated to recurrent expenditure and 13 trillion naira for capital projects, the statement said. CUPP noted that the allocation raises questions about the government's priorities and its ability to drive economic growth, saying that the significant amounts dedicated to debt servicing suggests that a substantial portion of Nigeria's revenue will be spent on paying off debts rather than investing in critical sectors like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. The organization noted that the allocation of funds is particularly concerning, given the Minister of Finance revelation that the last budget performed poorly, with capital project implementation standing at only 25% for the 2024 year period. According to CUPP, the underperformance of the 2024 budget raises questions about the government's ability to effectively implement its budget and drive economic growth. Furthermore, the recurrent expenses, which accounted for approximately 29% of the total budget, may not have a direct impact on the country's development. These expenses are often related to the day-to-day operations of the government agencies, salaries, and other administrative costs. While these expenses are necessary, they do not contribute significantly to the country's economic growth or development, CUPP observed. CUPP further noted that capital projects, which account for around 26% of the total budget, have the potential to drive economic growth and development, stressing that the allocation of 13 trillion naira may not be sufficient to address the country's infrastructure deficits and other development challenges. The group opined that Nigeria's infrastructure needs are significant and the allocation for capital projects may not be enough to make a meaningful impact. Adenko, what do you make of this story?
First and foremost, I think what the CUPP they are doing is in line with modern democracy, because the beauty of democracy is opposition, apart from the rule of law. The opposition, if they are constructive enough, if they are firm, if they are resolute, if their aggregate opinion is well articulated, it puts the government in power in check to sit up. So what they have done now is good. But the only area where I faulted the statement was 16 trillion naira being set aside for debt servicing. Who doesn't know that Nigeria is owing? Everybody knows that the country itself we are hugely indebted. Thirdly, let us look at it from the microeconomic point of view, not the macro. If as an individual I am owing you and I don't make any effort to service what I'm owing you, you only see me carrying out capital projects, by living large, won't you come after me? You will definitely come after me. So that means if we don't service this debt, our creditors will come after us, and it won't be too good for our economy. So it is better we service our debt than for us to leave it, don't service it, and prolong the doomsday, which will definitely come not too long. Because the only way you can get more is when you service what you are owing. So setting aside 16 trillion naira for debt servicing, everybody knows that the country is owing, and we must pay our debt. There's nothing like debt forgiveness. There's nothing like debt cancellation. Then setting aside 13 trillion again for capital expenditure is another question mark. Because if you look at it, I've always said it that government, we have a lot of government agencies which are not doing anything for the economy. They are not doing anything for the government. Rather, they are conduit pipe for which funds are being taken away. We have so many agencies. They are not doing any. All they just need to do is to merge some of these agencies, downsize, and government is good to go. Because part of the problem in governance has always been the recurrent expenditure.
The recurrent expenditure is 14.2 trillion naira,
which is higher than
the
capital expenditure. So that's another area. That's why I said if they have their facts and figures, it will definitely put the government in power in check. So what they are doing is okay, it's fine. I'm in line with them. I totally agree with them. So it's left for the government now to make amends.
Now, okay, now they were saying that now Nigeria is in need of capital projects. You know, Nigeria is underdeveloped to a large extent. We can't take that away. We cannot take infrastructural deficit away. We cannot take away the fact that we have to come up to a point where Nigeria is even investor friendly at this point. Because, I mean, with everything that has happened, everything that is going on, a lot of the few investors we have, a lot have left the shores of the country to others. Now, they are looking at 16 trillion naira for debt servicing. That is a whooping 32% of the total budget. But when you look at it with the capital, the budget for capital projects, which is 14 trillion, debt servicing seems to be higher. Now, to go into capital projects, because it is these capital projects that will also, you know, in turn generate more revenue for the country.
But who doesn't know that Nigeria is owing?
And who doesn't know that the government of the day is still borrowing money more and more? Like, is there any day, any week in the news that if you do not hear that Nigeria has secured a loan somewhere, you hear that the government has applied for loan, you hear that Nigeria is deep in debt. And yet Nigeria is borrowing weekly or every other week.
Yes, the country could be deep in debt, but also making frantic efforts to pay what you're owing.
Can you service your debt by borrowing to service the debt?
That's another danger. It's like digging a pit to cover a pit, which is not ideal. If you're owing, all you just need to do is to think outside the box, see how you can increase your revenue base so that whatever
projects. Now, you said that if one is owing, you know, the wise thing to do is to find a way to, you know, pay, yes, on the other hand, and also generate more revenue in order to service whatever it is you're owing. But in this instance, it appears that capital project is not a priority of the government. Capital, from this budget, it is clear where the priorities of the government is, and definitely not capital projects, because if you look at it in line, debt servicing takes the highest amount, followed by recurrent expenditure, and then capital projects comes under.
What should happen is that the recurrent expenditure should be slashed to ensure that we invest more in capital expenditure. Because recurrent expenditure are things that apparently don't even have receipt.
When you look at recurrent expenditure, you're looking at, let's even break down recurrent expenditure
worker
a little
salary,
bit. Worker salary,
day-to-day running of the government,
yes.
other expenses, travel, and you discover that we have a lot of workforce that's overbloated, a workforce that some are not even productive, a workforce that some are not even alive, they are just on the nominal register. Somebody somewhere.
Have you even looked at the budget of these ministries? What has been presented by these ministries for instance?
Now, some of the ministries and some of the departments or agencies of government, like I said, are conduit pipes. They don't generate revenue. Rather, they are just there where government will be spending and nothing comes from them, which for me, it's not good for governance. At this point, government should be thinking of seeing how to reduce overhead costs.
When you're saying reducing overhead costs by merging of ministries, that brings us back to Orasanye report.
Of course, which should be implemented.
Which, in the first instance, when it was even brought up, there were considerations to implementation. You can, you agree with me that that particular move generated a lot of controversy.
You know why?
Why?
There are people who are benefiting from what is going on. So they are the ones fighting it.
Now, look at, apart from over-bloated ministries as well, or duplication of ministries, you talked about over-bloated workers.
Yes.
A lot of workers, have ghost workers been eliminated from the civil service?
Ghost workers are being gradually removed, but it has not been completely eliminated. Then even within the workforce, there are some people who don't even know their job description. There are some people who don't even know why they are there. All they just know is that at the end of the month, they get alert. Some don't even come to work from week to week.
Some jobs, or let's say some designations and some offices, even within the civil service, they are absolutely unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
So people just go there to
They just go there to mark time and come back. While some, the only time you see them in the office is when they want to do audit, personnel audit. That's when they come. They come with their letter of previous promotion, first employment, and all that. They come, and after the audit, they've gone into the scene, and you won't see them again. We have so many of them within the local government and the state government, even some federal parastatals. They are like that. We find people doing virtually little or nothing.
Now, talking about recurrent expenditure and the need to reduce recurrent expenditure, you've talked about the civil service and what could be done. You've talked about duplication of ministries and the fact that that needs to be revisited, and some ministries that have similar portfolios should be merged. Let's look at the cost of governance. Down from the National Assembly, from over-bloated salary to over-bloated allowances to over-bloated, allowances again.
For me,
yes,
the National Assembly and the state legislature, or state assembly, for me, it shouldn't be a full-time job. It should be a part-time job where the people who have various vocations, at the end of the day, they come and make laws, and they go back to their various vocations.
And they pay you for that plenary.
They pay you for that plenary. You go home.
Now, while you're talking about it shouldn't be a full-time job, this is a full-time job. But let's look at the perks associated with this job. Let's look at the perks. The wardrobe allowance, the housing allowance, the constituency projects. A lot of things are associated.
Before you look at a senator has up to 20 appendages. What for?
The government also pays for these appendages.
That's what I'm saying. What for? If it's not a full-time job, if it's a part-time job, there won't be need for all this. If it's in a month, it's okay, sit 2 weeks in a month, or sit 10 days in a month. Is it not to make laws? Go on oversight function. Finish. Well, if you look at it, these are part of our problem, where we spend so much on the National Assembly and the state legislators. So if we want to reduce costs, it must be all-encompassing. Then by the time you go now to the executive, you discover that they need to cut certain excesses.
So you can't take it away that the concerns of the CUPP in this instance,
it's timely.
It is timely, and it is
very commendable.
It should raise concerns of Nigerians as well.
Another thing again, which I pray that they should be consistent. They shouldn't compromise, because at some point you see some of these people, after shouting before you know, they keep quiet.
Now,
nobody knows why they are.
Do we have a listening government? That's on one hand.
Do we
have a listening government?
If we have a listening government, but we also have